5 out of 10.
Ah, all is as it should be. Hecate grants me the power, Itharte the will to see it used. Isha's memory binds me to the weave, and Lilia's love to the light. And the more I heg, keeps the balance. Ah, she's dead. An interloper stole all that made her who she was. No, you were talking about Isha. I was casually deflecting. Dwarf holds attract all manner of vile, squalid creatures with aspirations of competence. Starting, of course, with the dwarfs themselves. Carrick Null, however, lies in the hands of a Skaven warlord who needs to be quietly dislodged from this sphere of existence. You still don't understand, do you? I am what I always was, only more so. I am myself, unbounded by the whims of meat. Ugh.
6 out of 10.
Ugh. There's a warpstone bell up on Helmgart's walls, and that's no good for anyone. It's even giving the mayflies sore ears, and I've a headache fit to crack a stone. So, there's nothing else for it. We'll have to teach the ratmen the value of silence.
Slaanesh has cursed you with raging thirst. Drink to abate the pain.
Stop.
I thought I knew you, elf. But this thing you've become.
Stop talking, Bardin. Now.
What about Isha? What about Isha?
Is there no end to the Northlanders' vile deeds? Trolls are foul enough without anyone splicing them with sorcery or demons or whatever madcap scheme they've settled upon. They'll all have to die. What a shame. What a terrible, terrible, terrible shame. They'll all have to die. What a shame. What a terrible, terrible, terrible shame.
Then you admit to thine own damnation.
Worship your mistress of thorns! The weave is shuddering. The ratmen are brewing vile poison in Moore's Field. Only a matter of time before it spreads, so for once, Lohner and I find ourselves in accord as to what must be done. The what being to put an end to the ratman mischief. Permanently. Castle Drachenfels. Ugh, Lilith, but I'd hoped never to hear that name again. However, the Packsworn are making free with the local villagers, and I feel an overpowering urge to offer the chastisement of blade and bow. So, let the hunt begin. Maybe. I don't know any longer. I don't know what it all means. Lohner's spinning a tale of a rotblood sorcerer making trouble in Helmgart's ruins. I have generously decided to go along and end the Scunner's foul existence. Someone's got to show the mayflies how it's done.
Some of these goddesses you've invoked since, well,
You know, they're not exactly nice.
No, it's too much silence.
Yeah. Sounds a bit sus, if you ask me.
Wutelgi, listen. I wanted to...
Serenity.
Kerillian's a bit different these days, isn't she? Kerillian's a bit different these days, isn't she? You were talking about Isha before.
For the last time, no. Leave me be, Gorrickson. I've had my fill of your questions. For the last time, no. Leave me be, Gorrickson. I've had my fill of your questions.
And if that balance fails?
Become.
You are wicked.
Apparently there's a plague in Bogenhafen. Lohner, not realising that there's plague everywhere, wants us to investigate. I'll be honest, I really don't want to. But what would happen to the mayflies if I stayed behind? Nothing good.
I have to say, Wutelgi, I do like your new look. Does it mean you've gone back to your roots?
Lohner's insisting we all head into Helmgart for a wee drink. Now, I've nothing against that, not as such, but why do I have to do it in the company of mayflies? Well, I suppose there's no avoiding it. At least I can show the others how an elf maid holds her drink. That'll put them in their place.
That crack you made before, about the painless death. Yeah, not gonna lie, that hurt my feelings.
I know what you're thinking, Sienna, but Authority isn't evil. She's the goddess of desire.
Right, much clearer, thanks.
Bleed for me! Bleed for me!
I worry about you, Kerillian. What I know of the Kithari isn't encouraging.
You might think that. I forbear to comment.
How many times? I'm not part tree. I'm one with the forest and the weave, a herald of Kadai and Kithari. It's different. What? Helmgart is quiet, at least for the moment. That much is fine. The problem is, Lohner's decided we need to have what he refers to as a bit of quality downtime, by which he means I should go drinking with the mayflies. Why, I ask you, would I want to do that? For the moment, that much is fine. Why did I ever come to Uberschreik? Ugh, there are rats everywhere and now the city's under siege. Brilliant, just brilliant. These mayflies have begged me to help them sound the alarm and I've agreed. Twice the fool, I suppose. Still, at least it won't be boring.
I remain unconvinced that you have not become the very thing we fight. But I shall stay my hand for now.
Look, Wutelgi, Lohner asked me to have a word with you. He's worried you've become a bit edgy since, you know...
No! So help me, Gorikson, I don't know any longer. I am free. If that appalls you so, bring on the flame. We shall see which of us survives it. The Pact Sworn can't handle a proper fight, so now they're going after terrified peasants. Worthless scunners. I suspect we'll get there too late to do much good, but we can at least register our disapproval in the severest of terms. The rat men are brewing poison in the Garden of Moor. Likely they're using mayfly corpses to do it, which is thrifty of the Wayscunners, if nothing else. But it remains an affront to the weave, so they won't be making their concoctions for much longer. Bogenhafen is in the grips of a plague, and Lohner's convinced it's the work of the Pact Sworn. Maybe he's right, maybe he's not, but there's no way to know for certain until we have a wee look around the place. You never know. I have no alliance with meat, Kruber. You are part of the problem. Will you not leave it well alone, meat?
As long as I've known you, Kerillian, you've worshipped Liliath and Isha above all others. Why the change?
Aye. There's many a man happier for thinking we're all helpless wee butterfly maidens. But some of us bite.
The finest scholars in the Empire. Oh, wait. I see where I've gone wrong.
What if a handful of mayflies have gotten themselves trapped in Fort Brachsenbrucke? Oh, well, it's hardly my concern. Or it shouldn't be. But if I don't agree to go, Lohner will try that reverse psychology of his again. And the poor man looks so pathetic I'll start laughing at him. Again. The Northlanders are breeding trolls down in an abandoned mine. Full points for ingenuity, if not for taste. Still, we can't have the brutish things wandering around, can we? The hard part will be to stop Gorikson cooking the remains. Mark my words. Ancients! Lend me your might! It would appear the Northlanders, having a slender grip on practicalities such as logistics and provisions, have filled the Baron's manor to the rafters with food supplies. Can't have that, can we? It'll all have to burn. Malice and mercy!
Was it like, then, being part tree? Was it like, then, being part... I know, but I do know a little about poor choices made for good reasons. Thought it might help. I know.
Oh, good. That's a weight off my mind. Calm now. A mayfly fort is under siege by the Pact Sworn. I keep telling Lohner that we're not exactly short of mayflies, but he insists we help the defenders out of the mess they've landed themselves in. I suppose it's as good a place as any to make partial amends for Hoggar's Bridge. How very generous. A mayfly in. I suppose it's as good a place as any to make partial amends for Hoggar's Bridge. Dozens, I claimed.
Hoggar's Bridge. Wait a minute. 2 known regiments vanished without trace at Hoggar's Bridge. Elf! Elf!
How very generous. Could it be that you're tempted by the truths I've seen? Lohner's had word from a Father Krausman insisting that the Bogenhafen plague is due to a Chaos rune sword which we will have to retrieve if the town's to be spared. Don't we just get all of the nice jobs? I mean, would anyone miss Bogenhafen?
Noblest part. That sounded like a compliment. Or a Saltzpyre compliment, anyhow.
The hypocrisy of meat. Or was that not a schematic for a mechanical armour sword in your workshop?
Noblest part. That's
The hypocrisy of meat.
noblest part. That sounded like a compliment. Or a Saltzpyre compliment, anyhow.
The Rotbloods have seized Usingen and are even now using the Baron's manor as a storehouse for their plundered provisions. That's right. Everything's in one place, just waiting to be burned, blown up, or otherwise spoiled. This one ought to be fun. There's no hope for any of us. Not one branch, not one leaf. I'm sorry, Kruber, truly. What I am now, it's like the best of what I used to be and the worst. Does that make any sense to you?
Well, I'm up for it, but no, I guess that's a no, yeah? Well, I'm up for it, but No? I guess that's a no, yeah?
And turns folk into snake monsters if they're more beautiful than her. I don't understand it. Every Sister of the Thought I've ever heard of was bound to Isha, or Ariel, or whatever she calls herself.
That crack you made before, about the painless death, I'm not going to lie, that hurt my feelings.
I'm sorry, Kruber, truly. What I am now, it's like the best of what I used to be and the worst. Does that make any sense to you?
I don't understand it. Every Sister of the Thought I've ever heard of was bound to Isha, or Ariel, or whatever she calls herself.
I will not dignify that question with a response. I will not dignify that question with a response.
I shan't dignify that with a response.
Hush now. Hush. Hush. The Bridge of Shadows isn't working as it should. So Alicia wants us to... The Bridge of Shadows isn't working as it should. So Alicia wants us to head to Athelyen Louis and put an end to the interference. I don't know that I want to go. Too many memories waiting to be stirred up. Too many regrets.
Oh, I guess you and me are even more on the same side these days. You know, Bretonia and Ethel Lauren, the old alliance.
Did I make a mistake, Gorrickson? Becoming what I am?
Can I trouble you to make at least a little sense?
The Pact Sworn, never ones to shy away from cowardly deeds, are stealing folk from the villages around Castle Drachenfels. Will they never learn? Sienna is all for intervening, and so am I, for kidnappers should never prosper.
Yeah, but when we're talking about Kerillian, moderation ain't exactly the word, is it?
As I have said many times before, so many times, I'm not part tree. I'm part of the forest.
Goodness, no. But Atharti, Hecate, the Morai Heg. If that's a party, I'd rather not be invited.
If Lohner's to be believed, the Skittergate's no longer guarded so closely as to make a direct assault a suicide mission, which I suppose is for the best. There'll be no peace until we destroy the foul contraption. And I so long for a bit of peace and quiet. By Liliath and Atharti! Kill me swiftly, for all our sakes.
I shan't dignify that with a response.
She is... not what she was. She's not even who she was. A rot-blood sorcerer has made Castle Drachenfels his squalid nest. I feel no desire to return. But I suppose he'll have to be chastened, if only to set an example to his grubby little peers. So, let's get it over with. Maybe then I can put the place behind me for good.
Oh, I see. Thorny issue, is it?
All right. So there'll be a bit of a bodyguard problem to deal with?
But you're not flesh and blood. Oi!
Ah, your keen powers of observation at work, Kruber.
Mother Alicia's Bridge of Shadows is experiencing problems. She's tracked the interference back to the ruined temple of Athelyen Louis, and we're to investigate. I wonder if it'll feel like being back home.
Ah.
The rat men are using one of their vile contraptions to keep reinforcements flooding in from the frozen north. And I, for one, am quite sick of it. So, we're going to go up there and ask them politely to desist. And then we're going to break their toy into little pieces. The rat uber shrikes under attack, as if I care. But I suppose there's no harm killing a few marauding ratmen. These mayflies are sure to make a botch of it without me. We're off to the Horn of Magnus to sound the alarm. But I'm sure I'll be doing all the work. We've been told the ratmen are building war engines out in the forest. Well, we can't have that, can we? Another mission for Kerillian the extraordinarily heroic and her mayfly companions. Assuming they don't get themselves killed. We've been told the ratmen are building war engines out in the forest. Well, we can't have that, can we? Another mission for Kerillian the extraordinarily heroic and her mayfly companions. Assuming they don't get themselves killed. Oh, it's too much. The rotbloods are digging around in the swamp. Now, you'd think it's the best place for them, and you'd be right. But Lohner says they're looking to harness the power of an ancient monolith. Can't have that.
Aye, maybe, but it's always wise to keep a gap between your hobbies and your work, I find.
You do know we're talking about the High Elf Everqueen. Isha is dead. Lilith? She does not answer my prayers as she once did. We seek hope where we can. That's too much. Bird var rib spreader. Bird var rib spreader. For that name alone, he deserves to die. Ugh, and die he will. Not for his ridiculous name, more's the pity, but for trying to locate Talshorn Keep. We can't have that, so let the bloody remonstration begin. Believe what you will and chance the consequences. I am beyond such concerns.
Then make it mean something.
Isha has gone into Helmgart to spy on the ratmen, and we're to create a distraction to make her life easier. So off to the Temple of Sigmar we go to ring out the bells. What can possibly go wrong with that? How long have you got? The world is so different now. I no longer hear the weave. I feel it, pulsing where my heart used to be. Aye, you're a good friend. I'll try to remember that if I'm allowed.
Give me one good reason why I should not cast you to the flame, as I would any common witch. Give me.
It seems we are to return to Castle Drachenfels to help those who cannot help themselves. I suppose that makes us heroes. Or fools. It's so hard to tell the two apart when I look at the company I keep. No.
Just being prepared is all. But it was a beauty, wasn't it? Damonsen's design. I just refined it.
Did she? I'm not so sure of that.
This is no simple kidnapping. Foul sorcery hangs about Castle Drachenfels like a mantle, and I dread to think what occurs within the walls. Rescue is needed for those the Paxhorn have taken, but I feel a strange foreboding. We come. You may worship me if you like. I'll not breathe a word to the others.
Really?
You may worship me. Lohner wants us to cause a distraction. I suggested stripping Saltzpyre naked and hanging him from the city walls, but apparently that was a bit too much. Instead, we're going to ring the bells at the Temple of Sigmar. Oh well, maybe next time. Lohner wants us to cause a distraction. I suggested stripping Saltzpyre naked and hanging him from the city walls, but
Ah!
aye, it's a no. Are any of us?
So, let me get this straight. You're not part 3.
No!
So, what's it like being part 3?
What? How dare you?
Look, just between us, I just wanted to say I understand. Sometimes the only way to work out who you are is to be someone else.
Lohner has gone to some lengths to reassure me that you are not evil, despite your transformation. I harbour dark suspicions.
Oh, sore topic then?
Do I need a reason? Do I need a reason? My eyes are open as never before. I suggest you leave it at that.
Aren't many stories about godly favour that end well, Dory. Think on that.
About these new goddesses of yours, Kerillian.
A rot-blood sorcerer is making trouble in Helmgart. I'd say the town's beyond saving anyway, but Lohner, foolish mayfly that he is, doesn't agree. I suppose I could sit this one out, but the others would only get themselves killed.
Why ask me? I don't know aught about magic and elgy goddesses.
Is something troubling you, Gorrickson?
So what the...
Is something troubling you, Gorrickson? You've had a peculiar grimace all day.
So what the crunk are you?
The dwarfs, alas, have allowed the hold of Carrick Null to fall into Skaven hands. Careless. Very, very careless. So it's up to us to set matters right and issue notice of eviction inked in Ratman blood. Another one Gorrickson's going to owe me, but who's keeping count? Apart from me, obviously.
Oh, the many-headed mistress of blood magic. I can't think why she has a reputation. As for the Moray Heg...
It's not your concern. Not in any way you'd understand. We go to the nicest places. This time it's a swamp, where the rot-bloods are excavating a vile and ancient idol. Well, I suppose we'd better do something about it. Otherwise I'll never hear the end of it. At least it can't smell worse than the dwarf. Is that outrage I hear? Or jealousy? Or temptation? Is that outrage I hear? Or jealousy? Or temptation?
These deities you call upon are wicked. Why should I not think thee the same?
Let the weave be avenged!
Ergo, you're part 3. Do try to keep up, Wutelgi.
I pity her, if truth be told. In the search for meaning, she has cast part of herself away. Perhaps the noblest part.
Let the forest feast! I can't... The gods? Aye, maybe. But the goddesses? No. They nurse a grudge like you would not believe, and it makes them mighty. A meteor crashed last night. Lohner thinks it's trouble. I agree, for the weave is restless. And that means warpstone. Much as I'd rather stay far away, we'll have to take a look. It'll only be trouble if the rat men get a hold of it.
A scholar once told me that the Sisters of the Thorn were handmaidens of Isha. Of course, he was drunk at the time.
Ignore him, Marcus. He doesn't take well to change.
The rat men are up to something out in the forest, clamouring night and day to make their ramshackle war machines. Lohner says we should go out there and destroy them. Well, that surely beats staying here and listening to Gorikson singing.
Flogs? Flogs?
The Northlanders are very unhappy with our recent deeds. It's so nice when one's efforts are appreciated, don't you think? Their chief, with the ridiculous name of Birdvar Ribspreader, is looking for our keep. Well, he'll have to be dissuaded. Permanently. The Northlanders are...
Hush, Saltzpyre. He's worried about Kerillian.
The Northlanders are very
The
unhappy
locale
with our
seething
recent
with
deeds.
Northlanders who
It's
want
so
to
nice
find
when
our
one's
merry
efforts
little
are appreciated,
hidey-hole
don't you think?
and murder us all in our
Their
beds.
chief, with the ridiculous
Yes,
name of
it's alarming,
Birdvar
but it's
Ribspreader,
also
is
an
looking for our
opportunity.
keep.
The search has left the
He'll
camp at
have to be
Ussingfeld
dissuaded.
Marsh lightly
Permanently.
defended, enough for us to turn the tables on our rot-blood friends. But I'm sure you'll manage the murder part.
Hush, Saltzpyre. He's worried about Kerillian.
By Hecate Isha!
So, Kerillian, what happened to Isha?
If ever there was a place that shouldn't stink of dark magic, it's a Shallian hospice. What are the Packsworn up to down there? Ugh, I suppose there is nothing for it but to go and take a wee look and remonstrate, where appropriate.
Sorry, but you've got me curious now. This interloper, then, that scrobbled Isha. I mean, I'm up for giving them a kick-in if you reckon it'll help.
The rat men have raised a bell on Helmgart's walls. Might be a screaming bell. It might not, but either way I agree with Lohner. The scunnered thing will have to come down, if only so we can have a little bit of peace and quiet. The rat men have raised a bell on
Rules
Helmgart's
rat men like
walls.
flies and
Might
sounds
be a
awful.
screaming bell.
If you just
It might not,
answered, oh no,
but either
not
way I
another
agree with
bloody
Lohner.
bell,
The
then
scunnered
you
thing
win
will
a
have to come
pumpkin,
down,
you lucky
if only so we
breeder.
can have a little bit of
Don't
peace
need it all
and
at
quiet.
once, because better safe than sorry.
Arise, thorns! The more I head claims you! Aye, dignity. So important. You mustn't feel ashamed that I intrigue you. Meat and their allegiances. Aye, some of us are bound to Isha, but we're free to worship as we wish, and Isha... Ah, that's a misunderstanding. Surely you approve of her sister Hecate. The Packsworn are causing mischief in the Mayfly Hospice, presumably because picking on those who can fight back is beyond their meagre reserves of courage. Isn't it a shame that we're on to them?
Is that so? I like them already.
Just assume everything's a little bit closer to the surface now. And sleep lightly.
Yeah. Can't help but read a threat into that, if I'm honest.
I'm blowed if I know what's going on with the Wutelgi.
They would slice you into tiny pieces and cast them away into the sea. So he sends one obsessive to fix another. I'm not a machine to be repaired, Gorikson. So he said... Peace. Be calm. Castle Drachenfels has become a rot-blood lair, and I've a wee notion we shouldn't let some fat, arrogant sorcerer have the run of the place. Oh, there are perils enough within those stones already, and we've trouble enough without encouraging more.
Compliments and pity? You're going soft, Grimgi.
The pack sworn are terrorising the farms around Usingen. As much as I've little sympathy for mayflies who can't be bothered to learn to wield a sword, I find it all strangely annoying. Still, I'll feel better when the blood starts flowing and the screaming begins.
This conversation is over.
I have to say, darlings, I'm not altogether sure what to make of Kerillian these days.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes she seems normal. Well, normal for her. But the rest, she gives me shivers.
I don't blame you for needing more than one godly patron, Wutelgi. After all, your gods are such frail, brittle things.
Oh, hush, I'd never hurt you. When the moment comes, it'll be painless.
You had a heart. Nothing wrong with change, in moderation.
So it appears that the trouble in Bogenhafen's down to a chaos rune sword. We're to seize the scunnered thing and get it somewhere safe. All well and good, I suppose, but I've a foreboding that'll mean traipsing through a sewer. Again. Mother Alicia won't stop wittering on about that meteor. Premonitions of doom and destruction. I'd put her straight, but I think she might be right. My dreams were troubled last night, and I've learned to trust their wisdom. So, rock hunting it is.
While I remember, Alicia was looking for you, Kruber.
Whatever for? She made this choice.
Did you not know? I was always evil, except for when I wasn't. Look, she doesn't kill people. She just knows when they're going to die. And, very occasionally, speeds it along. Want me to show you yours? A 30 could have it for a snack.
Well, I know you just apologised for something. I've never heard that before. Might be there's hope for you yet.
And from whence hails your knowledge, might I ask? And from whence hails your...
Yes, but what's new there? She's been blessed by her gods, darlings. Would that we were all so lucky.
It's too much.
Very wise. Hang on, what was that?
Nice weather today.
Where did we come from? Over the mountain. Where are we going? Over the mountains. Where is my sweetheart? Over the mountains. Where is my heart for? Over the mountains. Where are we buried? Under the mountains. Where are we sung up? Under the mountains. Where...
Hey, Rocky, what's that supposed to be?
Why are you looking at me like
Stop that! It's annoying!
You do it all the time!
Enough! Both of you!